Yeah, and grain should come any now. See, there's grain. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Syl. And good morning, everyone. Good morning and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, which is very convenient and very energy saving, energy efficient to say good morning instead of just saying that, okay, good evening, good morning, which can
Exactly.
be different for everyone.
Exactly.
I am trying to, because the habit is so strong to say good evening, good day,
Yeah.
and all these things. So I'm trying to do that. Anyway, welcome everyone. Welcome to another live. Today is Sunday and a special fun day for us. And because today Sil is going to share some interesting stuff. I'm not going to talk about that because this is something Sil is going to share. But before coming here, we were discussing something again, AI, the power of AI now, and I was just, of course, when Sil was sharing some of avatars generated by AI, of pictures of me and of course some other people also, that how it is extracting some of innerness. Okay, this could be just our assumption because the way we see uh, our dear friends and of course the way we see ourselves and others uh, can be a biased. Okay, I'm not sure 100%, but there is a proof that AI actually can do this. I was listening to some interviews on YouTube. It was just random, and one of the interview was quite a controversial and sensitive topic about a young girl who was being, according to her, again, I'm saying, and I'm just sharing what she shared. I don't know that it was right, wrong, true, or not, but she was sharing that, okay, she has been actually taken over, not kidnapped by some high occult or hidden, not occult, actually hidden societies, and she was chosen by for some reason, but she got a training to actually analyze people's faces and the pattern of wrinkles, pattern of muscles, uh, sloppiness and activeness and all those things, and of course the cornea and the eye movement. Of course the body language is another thing, but she was very highly and very uh, actively trained to learn the wrinkles pattern on skin. And
Wow.
they were,
Interesting.
yes, and she was saying that the wrinkles pattern on your face actually reveals a lot about what your quote unquote temptations are.
Yes. 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 It
And
reveals
that was
emphasis.
exactly. Sorry,
Yeah.
oh, thank you so much to give me a right word. But
Yeah.
she was saying about that what we actually don't share with other people. We want to keep it secret for any reason. I'm not
Yeah.
saying again it is. I'm not judging anything that it is right or wrong. I'm just sharing what she was sharing. And she says, okay, this was a common thing for the highly ranked uh, people who were chosen by for the particular reason. They
Mm.
get training, and it was
Mm.
not okay limited to her, but very few people get this training. My point was, it exists, this knowledge, of course it exists,
Yes.
and they use it because they were using it for manipulation. When
Yeah.
she was able to understand the person, she actually manipulated him or her in that particular way, because she understands that where they are weak, where they are vulnerable, where they will lose their control.
Yeah.
So this is how she was using to manipulate them. And if this knowledge exists, if a person can get a training, of course, by other people, which means that experts are there in this world. So just why not AI can be able to understand by analyzing your features, your pictures, that who you are, and
Yeah.
it can emphasize what is coming from there, from that particular knowledge. Okay, that could be, and also some other things. I'm not going into the all negative only, but the positives also and
Mm.
other things also. So sometimes when we get the avatar, we see all those things coming up, and we say, "Wow, this is so wonderful." Yes, it is wonderful.
Ah.
Power of
Ah.
AI and the power of knowledge is so miraculous, so amazing. And today,
Yes.
this is what
Yes.
we are going to actually experience, that the power of structured knowledge, not just random knowledge. We will
Yes.
see the power of structured knowledge today,
Yes.
power of
Yes.
structured awareness today.
Wonderful.
We will
Wonderful.
we will
Wonderful.
observe this visibly also.
Wonderful.
So
Absolutely perfect introduction for what we're
yes,
going to do. The
yes,
power of structured awareness.
awareness.
I don't want to call it
Yes,
knowledge. I rather call it
yes.
awareness
I was saying
of
both. I
structured,
shared both.
yeah, structured
Yes,
insight. No, I mean it is knowledge, but it
yes,
is more than knowledge. It is
yes,
awareness.
yes.
It is more than awareness even. Before I go into this, hello, 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 wonderful Norma. Hello, hello, hello,
Hello,
wonderful
Norma.
Norma. Yeah, this is too gorgeous that you're here. Wonderful Norma. I'm just arranging all my screens and windows so that I can see everything and chat with everybody and connect to everything. Now, the power of structured awareness. What I'm going to share is even more than the power of structured awareness because it is the power of structured, connected conceptualization. The power of structured, connected conceptualization and conceptions, right? This is huge. This is huge, 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 huge. A very, very, very big deal. Yeah. As we are going to see now why. All right. Now, why do I differentiate between knowledge and awarenesses and conceptions and even discernments? Because knowledge, yes, they say there's power in knowledge, but really that's a very complicated statement and very fraught with potential dangers. Because if that knowledge sits on your hard drive, it's potentially powerful. Yeah. Doesn't mean anything unless you can use it, unless you're able to apply it, right? So having the instructions to do something, yes, it's handy to have, but unless you've actually practiced putting the thing together and putting it in place, as we all know, when you buy stuff from IKEA, you get instructions, but well, yeah. Do you still get the thing to be the way it's supposed to be, even though you had the instructions? No, not so much, right?
Yes.
Right. Again, it takes some practice. Of course, if you buy regularly from IKEA, after a while, you don't even bother with the instructions. You just put the thing together because you've had practice. You understand how it works. You know what's going on. Yeah. It's very, very, very important to understand this. Yes. Very, very important to be aware that having instructions, while valuable, isn't the be all and end all of everything. Yes. It's not. It's not. It's not. Very important to understand this and be aware of this. Otherwise, you get stuck. So, knowledge, yes, if it's on your hard drive, in your database, just sitting in your brain somewhere, yeah, it's valuable, but not as valuable as it could be. All right. This is very important to be aware of and to understand. Very, very, very critical. Otherwise, like I said, we can get lost in thinking that the knowledge itself is power. It's not. It is the ability to apply the knowledge that's power. Yes? Before you
Yes.
answer, very important thing I have to share. Norma says, "Hi, Beena. Are you well?"
Oh, yes. Thank you, Norma. Yes, I'm well and good and joyful and a bit excited. Yes.
Oh,
All at the same time today because I'm not going to reveal anything, but yes, Syl is going to share today is something very exciting. And
yeah, yeah. It's a
it's
big
like
deal.
really for me, the first time when I saw that, it was jaw dropping. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
that was my first time when I saw that. Okay, so it is, yes, it can be a bit of because of my lack of knowledge,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
that
yeah.
was so wonderful. That was so wonderful. So, yes, I'm
All
well. Thank you, Norma. Thank you.
right. Without further ado, I'm going to share. Now, I'm going to have
Please.
this full screen for a while here, simply because of the focus, which
Yes.
means that I won't be able to see the comments for a while. But in a moment,
Okay,
I
okay,
want
let
to
me go
just
there. Yes.
I want to just get this. So what I'm about to share is a mind map that I made with lots of attention to detail, lots of work, lots of effort. This is a big deal, right? It's just a tremendous. You'll see now in a moment. I want to just emphasize that this is not something just casually done. There's the implications of what I'm about to share are massive and huge. Now I'm going to share the totality because it doesn't quite fit on the screen. This really needs to be on a life size, like a full size, a poster that's as big as me, essentially, like a 5 or 6 foot poster. That's really what it's intended for. Yes. Just keep that in mind. Now I'm going to share the zoomed out view and then I'll zoom in and you'll get to see the details. So here we go. The mind map of Way of Impeccability and the Philosophy of Appropriateness. Right? They combined here. And you could say the Philosophy of Appropriateness really is the top half. And the entirety is Way of Impeccability because all the detail is, Way of Impeccability goes into detail for the application of the Philosophy of Appropriateness. But, philosophies tend to generally be, more overview, more abstract. All right. So now let's go into the top part here, which is the Philosophy of Appropriateness. Yes. And let's zoom in. Let's zoom in. I have to get it down. We'll zoom in a bit more. Now I've zoomed in too much. All right, there we go. So I want to get it all nicely in
Yes.
there. All right.
Yes.
And now
Yes.
we have it all here. So here we go. We start with the core concept of appropriateness. Yes. And what is that comes from it? That is the key point. Yes, 3 A's. And also, we're going to see why the philosophy of appropriateness is also called the A plus philosophy. All right, now I could have just called it the A philosophy because these A concepts starting with A, they are very prominent. They are the core ones, these four here, right? This application should be a little bigger, but the software, if I make it bigger, then everything else goes. It's all connected. So if you move one, then all the others move. So these are the core, right? Appropriateness, attunement, awareness, and all of those lead. Look at the arrows, right? They lead to, or the arrows leading to application, right? Have to be. Without application, it's all meaningless. So those are the four core A terms. Well, the first A term is appropriateness. Then it has three underlying it, right? And that's this. This is what I love about this mind map, right? It just makes that part of me that likes symmetry and moreness and layeredness, it makes it very happy. So pay attention here. Appropriateness has 1, 2, 3 A's. Yes. Attunement, application, awareness, right? But it's the two on the side and then they lead to application. 3 A's. Now let's take attunement. Attunement has the same. It has alignment, anomalies, and acting without agenda. Now, though, the arrows go the other way. Yes. See, those take up, right? They don't follow from that, they flow into it. Okay? See? So when part of attunement is alignment. You have to understand alignment and how it works, anomalies, and that allows you to be in attunement. Same thing with acting without agenda. Now we go all the way across to awareness, yes? And we have the same, the 3 A's, in other words, right? The two cores and then the one that connects them both. See? One that connects them both. We have attention and appreciation. Yes? Very, very important. Okay? Then we get to
Yes.
application, and application has authenticity and accountability. Now, in a perfect world, self-conception would have an A term here, huh? But I suppose I could find one, but self-conception is so powerful, I didn't want to mess with self-conception and find a synonym that's an A. But because we are moving into this self-conception, we're going to see now how this moves us into a whole different realm, right? But I want to stay where we are first, okay? Because there's a couple of things to understand about this mind map. For one thing, that the software is got limitations in terms of colors and the boxes and the sizes of the boxes. Okay, so the
Yes.
key ones are bigger, and then they get slightly smaller, and then they get smaller, and right. So there's that limitation. But also, this year, right, this like overview perspective, it really should be more prominent. However, it turned out to be marvelously appropriate that it didn't come more prominently displayed, right? I mean, I could make boxes for it, obviously, but this is on top of the arrows because having them in the background is like the title of a poem. It's there, and it's very at least if the poet has made an effort to really put their thinking and attention into an appropriate title, right? Titling is a skill. It's a profound skill which few you really use. If you make titles appropriately, from the title alone, you can get a sense of what's to come. Yeah, it's that overview, it's that connectability to the other connected concepts, etc., etc. Right. So these you can take as titling. Now, when we have appropriateness, I'm going to get to this top part in about a moment here, right? So when we get to appropriateness and we have attunement, awareness, application. And if you think of this as kind of a pyramid, right? Yeah. Now, I mean, that is sort of another layer to the pyramid. So you've got like a double pyramid, right? But if you think of this as the capstone of this pyramid, we get something very profound, right? We get intent that connects all of these, yes? And they all connect to intent. Now, I couldn't make a double arrow. I suppose technically, I suppose I could, but nonetheless, this should be a double arrow, right? Because intent, it should go all the way here, right? Connects all of them, right? So this should be a arrow going that way and from awareness back to intent. But really, intent is what drives all of this, yes? Appropriateness is the key understanding, the key conception from which everything flows. But you could just as well say it's from intent. Yes? Because if you have an intent to moreness, well, then appropriateness is automatically going to follow. Yes? Same thing with an intent to goodness. If you have self honesty, at the moment you start applying your intent to goodness and you pay attention to what happens, you're going to say, well, yeah, I was trying to make it work and I was trying to be good, but it didn't quite work out. Okay, I have to up my game. I have to improve. I have to be more appropriate. Yes, which is what that typically means when I say I want to improve. Just means I want to be more appropriate, right? Or have the ability to be more appropriate. So that's all connected. That's an intent. See, intent to moreness, intent to goodness, intent to appropriateness, all an intent. And of course, if we don't have impeccability, then we're really going to struggle with so much. Right now, I'm not going to get into impeccability entirely here, but because it's going to be self-explanatory as we continue here. But impeccability is, of course, best use of energy. Intent is usage of energy. That's what intent is. It's energy. Yes. I mean, if you say I intend to do something, this is not an action. This is not a doing in the normal. It's not physical, right? You are saying, you are communicating that you are putting out an energy, or you are applying an energy. And if you want to make sure this is going to be not lead to trouble, then apply impeccability, right? Which impeccability makes sure that you are doing so in the best possible way. In other words, in impeccability, you are going to be applying things like thoroughness, scrupulousness, conscientiousness, diligence. Yes, you're going to apply due respect. You're going to be making sure that your intent does in actuality really matter. Yes, I mean, if we now want to go into intent a little more, it's the other way. We can look at intent just real quick. I'm sorry, impeccability here. And where's that now? Where's my point on impeccability? Here we go. I scrolled right past it. Extended understandings of impeccability. Yes. Is there such a way to give a mini explanation of the word impeccable or impeccableness or impeccability? Yes. Best use of energy, giving due respect, uncompromising self honesty, living with true integrity, making sure non-use of energy is not going to be a problem, doing more than enough to be sure we're covered. Yeah, why is that important? For regret. Yes. Yeah. I'll just put re. Okay. Right. If we make sure we've done more than enough, we can never have regrets. Right. Same thing. Being thorough, diligent, scrupulous, conscientious. Right. All of this connects that we don't have to have regrets, and we can make decisions that we don't have to worry about. Making sure one is unblameable, unfaultable by one's conscience. Acting so we cannot have any regrets. There it is. Doing what's right according to our own conscience, not somebody else's, our own. This is what impeccability is about, right? Doing everything we can and more to minimize foolishness. Applying all necessary effort required. Necessary effort, not undue, not unnecessary, right? And trusting impeccably when we've done all this, that things will turn out good. It's part of our impeccability, that capital T trust. Yes. I should put
Mm.
that in here. Nobelia trusting impeccably when we've done all this, that things will turn out good. Thus, acting and behaving and doing all we can. So doubt is not an issue. Yes. That's very important. We're getting rid
Yes.
of. And so the questioner here says sort of unimpeachable. And the reply to that is, in a way, yes, exactly. Unimpeachable by our conscious. And I'm going to be redundant here and say by our own conscience. I know, writers, you're going to tell me our conscience, our own, it's the same thing, but it's important the emphasis here to make this distinction to say no, this is a separate, sorry, is something I wish to emphasize, right? It's to be unimpeachable by my conscience, my own, not someone else's, not the idea of conscience in general. No, my own. All right. So now we get a good idea of what impeccability is. And impeccability, you're going to see, is repeated later on. Hey, why did my calculator come up? Is going to be repeated back on. It's a connecting thread to this. Keep in mind, this mind map is is much like my background, right? In behind me today. It is it is a three-dimensional connectivity. Obviously, it's laid out flat here because in the idealness, attunement will wrap around at the bottom underneath, right? And they're all connected, right? Like my background. Okay. So we see this where and part of these the titling in the top here, overview, perspective, spirit, energy, they are all important to understand the intent and impeccability. Yes. When we understand spirit as that title that connects intent and impeccability, yes, and connects also awareness and attunement, but particularly intent and impeccability. This is what makes my spirit. I might not be impeccable as yet, but our spirit, it is connected deeply to intent, but it is that part that is taking the intent and wants to apply it. Yes, through energy application, right? So we live in a different world, in other words, beside the physical world. There is the world of energy, which is the world of spirit, right? And overview perspective is what allows us to take this appropriateness and attunement and awareness and start to apply it, right? When we look at that from the overview perspective, we might as well say universal perspective, yes? And then you start to see, okay, now I see how things fall into place. Now I see how things make sense, yes? Because if we're too stuck in the detail of our day to day, I'm worried about my keyboard, is not whatever, little things like that, we lose the bigger picture. And that overview perspective tells us what is important, what is important, what is important. Now, this mind map is a mind map. And what is the purpose and point of a map? It is to show you, first of all, the lay of the land, correct? To give you that awareness
Yes.
of what is around you. And a map is overview perspective, is it not?
Yes.
A map without overview perspective, I don't know how you can draw a map without overview perspective. That's the whole
Exactly.
point of a map, right? You can't.
Yes.
So now that's the first thing. Secondly, come on, Walgreens, don't be calling me. You don't have something for me. This is bogus. Yeah. Swipe down to decline, down to decline. Yeah. I decline you. They're trying to tell me I've got a prescription and I don't have one in some other place in Arizona. I don't know what they're up to. Sounds like a scam. Anyway, so a map is to show you the lay of the land from an overview perspective. That is precisely the intent of a map. You can't have it any other way. Secondly, the point and purposes of maps is to provide you with the option to develop a path to show you where you want to go, right? But the map doesn't tell you to go somewhere. You have to choose your destination and then you can connect point A to point B, right? Right? So a map isn't like directions. Yes, directions tell you go here, turn left, turn right, right? But the map gives you the option to choose a path. Yes, make sense? Beena, the distinction.
Yes.
All right, all
Yes.
right. So this mind map not only gives us the overview perspective of the lay of the land when it comes to way of impeccability and the philosophy of appropriateness. Now, forget those two. This mind map is pointing out the lay of the land when it comes to potentially tools, tools for how to live and how to be. Yes. Again, there may be other ways to do it, but this is so taken conception to this extreme level that it takes out belief. Yes. You don't have to believe in anything to understand that attunement, when you understand what it is, connects how it connects to appropriateness and awareness. And of course, that when in attunement is you have to have awareness in order to be able to attune. And if you're attuned and you have awareness but you don't apply it, well, what's the point? Yes, it's totally pointless. Yeah? So this is all self-evident. And this mind map, thus, I call it, it is a mind map of way of impeccability and also of the Moreness project and philosophy of appropriateness, etc. However, what it really is, it is a mind map that is self-evident sensibility. Likewise, when I look at the map of Arizona where I'm in, yes, the self-evidentness of the mind map when I'm looking down at it and I see Arizona, mountains, rivers, whatever, right? It is self-evident that this is how it is, especially if you look at like a satellite photo map, right? I mean, these are just a satellite photo when you have it next to the map. A map is just um, uh, a symbolic way of representing that photo. Yes. However, when we see this, it's self-evident what's going on. I can see as mountains, as rivers, and therefore, if I want to pick a path, I say, well, I don't want to go through the river or just walk in the middle of the river. I have to walk alongside. Everything is self-evident when you have a map. But when you're down on the ground and you don't have that map view, then like, well, I don't know, there's a river on the other side of the hill over here. And I said, okay, I'm going to go this way. Yeah. I think, okay, it's more or less where I want to go. I know I need to go north or whatever, right? Or east, and off I go. But I can't see what's coming. So when I get there, man, I should have rather gone the other way around this mountain range and I would have avoided it. See my point? You lose so much when you don't have the overview. That's why maps exist, because they save us time and energy and they make life a lot easier. Now, instead of calling this a mind map, we can call this a life map. Even better, we can call it an intent map. Yeah. When
Yeah.
we think of it as an intent map, holy moly, what do you mean an intent map? Well, what are your intents in life? Well, my intent is to be happy. My intent is to be wealthy. My intent is to be famous. My intent is to love. My intent is to be joyful. My intent is to share. Whatever your intent is, it doesn't matter. Yes. So the next thing I say to you, okay, that's wonderful that you've got this intent. How? How are you going to implement your intent? I don't know. I'm just, whatever comes, I'll just do whatever comes along. You mean you'll just do whatever's appropriate? Oh, yes, yes, yes. I'll do whatever's appropriate. Yes, yes. Thanks for that. I didn't think of that word. So in other words, your intent when it comes to the implementation of your goals and your desires and your ambitions and your aspirations, in order to get there, you need appropriateness. Yeah, yeah. I never thought of it that way. Okay. Oh, all right. What will help your appropriateness? Uh, what do you mean, what will help my appropriateness? I'll just be appropriate. How would you know it's appropriate? Yeah, okay. Hmm, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, you're right. You know what? I might be in a bit of a bubble. Well, I just need to know a bit more. You mean you need to be a bit more aware? Yes, yes, yes. I need to be a bit more aware. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. I didn't think of that, but yeah, yeah. I need to be more aware. Oh, okay. So, in order to be appropriate, you need awareness. So, the point and value of awareness is that it enables you to be more appropriate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay, so now you've got the awareness and you can be a bit more appropriate, right? It's all helping your intent. However, though, your awareness is limited to what you can be aware of, which is your immediate surroundings and life in general. How can you be aware of the moreness of life, right? That which you can't perceive directly. What do you mean the moreness of life? Well, I mean like the greater flow of things, in terms of, like, you could say the greater flow in terms of, like, you could say, styles, fashions, maybe in a very ordinary way. Or you could say the greater flow when it comes from a spiritual point of view. Yes, the flow that's taking you from ordinary stuff into spirituality and stuff like that, right? And also to know that if you on your appropriate life path with a capital P, or the journey of life, as opposed to just fulfilling your ambitions and stuff like that, right? Which is little P path. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I never thought of that, but now that you mention that, well, that's very important. Yes, you've got to be connected to a life path, like a capital P path, which brings you into connection with the stuff that's spiritual, and that means more, and that that your deeper spirit and your soul is satisfied. All that, yeah, that's very important. But how do I do this? Ah, yeah, I have to really connect to life to know this, don't I? Yeah, yeah. And that deeper, fuller connection, and being in tune with it. That's what I need. Attunement. Yes. Yes. That's what I mean. Attunement. All right. See, we get attunement. I am utilizing this mechanism of saying that what this map is, it's self-evident sensibility when you think things through to the end and you do some perspective shifting. Right. So I'm showing this representation from our typical awareness, which is a bit, it doesn't necessarily automatically think things through to the end. It's not innate in us. We're not taught to do this. Unfortunately, it should be, but it's not. Right. But when we do think it through to the end, then we get that, yes, attunement, yes, awareness, yes. Okay, so now we said you've got an intent. You've got an intent in your life, whatever your intent is. Yes, to be rich, famous, loving, to be appropriate, to share, whatever your intent is, doesn't matter, right? And I'm not saying to be rich and famous, these are necessarily by implication good intents. I'm utilizing them because they're typical. Yes, and they may be or may not be. You have to figure that out for yourself via awareness and attunement to see if they're appropriate for you. Yeah? All right. You're living your own life, not somebody else's life. Now we get to these two, and we say, well, if you have attunement and you have awareness and you have appropriateness, it means nothing if you don't apply it. Well, there you go. So we apply it. And of course, when we understand what impeccability is, we are taking our intent and we are utilizing the tools of appropriateness, attunement, and awareness in order to apply our energy. Impeccability is the best use of energy, right? So we are going to use awareness and attunement and appropriateness to take our intent and apply it impeccably, right? Through impeccable application, we get to not wasting our energy. Yes, we don't get to be random. Now, this is the philosophy of appropriateness. Yes, and we can get into it a little bit more. And what I want to say is, I'm going to get to the top part in a moment here. It really should be, I mean, it has kind of got different things, and you see these colors, the darkness, they connected, right? We start paying attention to the colors. There's a logic to the colors. Now,
Yes.
it's a map that also shows a path, right? And when we scroll down later, we'll see these down arrows, and you see these, they're all leading somewhere. You can see by implication, right? They all, and there's not the arrow up at the top, so they're going somewhere. There's a path here. There's a path, see, going down, down, down. This is the path going in the one direction. It's not down and up, it's just the one direction. And you could say south and north if you want to, but it could be upside down. I could be in the southern hemisphere, and then this would be north, and that would be south. Okay. Either way, it's not, there's no implication to it via up and down, right? Absolutely not, as you'll see when we go further. But when we take this and we say, I take this philosophy and I want to look at it from that overview, spiritual point of view, right? Where you see overview perspective, it's this going up here, making the obvious obvious. All of this enables profound, massive perspective shifting. And perspective shifting is a magic wand which transforms life. When I'm able to perspective shift, I can take life from being horrible and unpleasant and stressful and bothersome to being magical and more and awesome and brilliant and wonderful and totally incredible. And perspective shifting, it is the magic wand that enables full comprehension. Yes. In other words, when I've perspective shifted to look at the house from all sides, look through every window, I'm able to gain full comprehension. Yes. The more perspectives, the fuller the comprehension. If you've looked at it from every possible angle, you end up with full comprehension. And that enables us to make sense of the grand scheme and the meaning of life. Yeah? For
Yes.
me, life absolutely capital M, capital S makes sense. This should really be in italics. Then they have that option. Right? It does. There's nothing about life that does not make sense to me. Every single aspect of it, including all the evil and all the negative, everything, all makes sense. No matter what, it all makes sense. Yes? All makes sense. And it's incredible. It is incredible, incredible, incredible when it does, right? Now, we'll get to that and how it makes sense. It's a big, big topic. But these are the tools, you see, without appropriateness, without understanding what attunement is, without really having and developing the awareness, see, attention, appreciation for the A's, right? We'll get into these now in a moment, right? Again, that triangle here, right? This is really key. Without those, you don't get this. Without understanding of the abstract, see, now this makes sense, abstract, right? And these connect up. These connect up. They also go down. They also go down. So this is about interconnectedness, interconnectedness. So now we see in this whole totality here, we see the philosophy of appropriateness. It is a philosophy. And what is a philosophy? A philosophy is a set of tools, a set of guidelines. I hate to call them rules because in philosophy, they're never really written as rules. They're written as understandings, awarenesses, guidelines to help you on your way. And really, a philosophy is a path. That's that's the best way to think of a philosophy as a path, right? So what are these? Right? Appropriateness, philosophy of appropriateness. What does that mean? Yes, it's awareness, attunement, and application. But what do they help you to do? Where are they taking you? They're taking you to where you can make sense of everything, right? Where life makes sense. Yes, this through overview perspective and making the obvious obvious, we get to taking it to the end, ultimate, we end up making sense of life. Now, what is the other direction here? Yes, going via way of impeccability and application, self-conception. We are going to see in a moment. But I just wanted to say this philosophy of appropriateness or the A plus philosophy. I just like A plus because, of course, if you get an A plus at school, that's the most awesome you can do. And wow, all right. So it is the like you're getting the sticker as philosophies. It's an A plus philosophy. It absolutely is, right? Because few philosophies will give you this degree of specificity that you can use and apply. Yes. They will talk about this, but this mind map, I've never ever seen a mind map like this. I'm assuming they exist, but I've never seen it, right? And studied lots of things. But again, let's just take awareness, or let's take attunement, even better, because attunement is it's people know the term awareness in general, but attunement is this is something that I yes, I guess the word exists, but in the way that I'm using it, I've never seen it used, right? So attunement is alignment and anomalies and acting without agenda. And what is it? Attunement is, when we look at it, it is slow magic. It's universal connection. It's a noble ideal. It's the universal school. It is that connectedness to the moreness of life. Yes. Now, again, when you think about it, you'll get it. So alignment is adventure, artistry, aspirations. But attunement is paying attention to the symbolic and the metaphoric. Yes. And this is very key because now we start to see an aligning the symbolic and the metaphoric via anomalies. Anomalies are the universal language, universal information. I start to see what's going on here now. Oh, so in order to attune, I have to pay attention to the anomalies because that lets me align with what I'm attuned to, like the surfer. Yes, you attune by paddling left and right across the waves or whatever, and then you see with the waves, you go a little deeper out, you come closer into shore. Attunement is positioning. When you catch the wave, this is alignment. Yes, and you do so through paying attention to anomalies. They tell you which way to go. They tell you paddle this way, paddle that way, get into place. Now, why is acting without agenda so important? Because when we start to attune, we are aligning with universal intent. Right here on this little bar, I need to update this mind map. There are a few little tweaks here which I'd like to make. Right? So right on this little bar here is universal intent. Like I have over your perspective here, here needs to be universal intent. Yes. So attunement is connecting our intent to universal intent. Yes. Now, when I connect to universal intent and I am looking to implement and apply universal intent, I need to be able to act without agenda, because my agendas, by implication, these are my agendas, not the universe's. I have to set aside my petty desires, my petty wants, because they are petty in relation to what the universe is intending. Yes, the universe can see the big picture, obviously, by implication. Yes, I can't. Therefore, what I think is appropriate, it may be so, but only as far as I know. And when I'm aware that what I know is very limited, well, then that falls apart. Yeah. And then, okay. When I understand that if I connect rather to the grand intent, now I'm doing what's right in the biggest possible framework, biggest possible context. Right? But I need to
Uh,
have the ability to act without agenda. Very, very crucial.
okay.
Yes, Beena. Yes, Beena.
Yes. So Norma made a comment and she
Oh,
was
oh,
asking that, okay. So whose brain
thank you.
is this a map of?
It's mine.
Yes.
But it's not just a map of my brain. Yes, yes, it is, because I live this. However, this can apply to anybody because it's self evident sensibility. It is a map of how, as far as I'm concerned, how life, the universe, and everything works. Right? So it's not specifically a map of my brain, Norma. It is a map of life. Yes, it's a map of how life works. Right? And when we look at maps, right, maps are of a territory specifically, right? Or you can
Hmm.
map something, but this is mapping life. And when you understand it, when you're mapping life according to the basic conceptualities that are implied and how things work, this becomes a map of life with the intent to make it life understandable, to make sense of life, and to make life understandable and make sense of life in such a way that one can use it to 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 improve our lives, to connect more deeply to life, to get more out of life, right? To enhance and develop our awareness. And through enhancing and developing our awareness, we enhance our ability to be more appropriate, which makes life easier. We enhance our ability to be more in attunement, which makes life more spiritual. Yeah. So this gives us both practical value and spiritual value. And to me, spiritual value needs to be practical, otherwise it's useless. Yes. So when we get the practical value out of spirituality, we get things like joy. We get things like really appreciation, capital A appreciation, and we take it all the way. We get rapture and bliss and elation, as was mentioned yesterday, right? And we get that deep communion with life, which gives us reverence, which gives us holiness. Yes, just different words for it, different words for it. Yeah. However you want to conceive of it, doesn't matter. The end result is a profoundness of being, from being in attunement and being at maximum appropriateness. Right. So the whole entire point and purpose of this mind map is to get value out of it. It's not a picture that is saying, oh, yes, me, this is what I think, this is what I believe. It's not about belief. There's nothing about belief here. Right? It's all self-evident. It's absolutely self-evident, like awareness. When you think about it a little bit, and you connect it to appropriateness, well, the more aware I am, the easier it is to be appropriate. And how is being appropriate? And appropriateness does not mean proper. Yes, proper is like, okay, you got your proper attire, or the proper way to drink tea, and you got to have the pinky out. This is somebody else's idea, a very narrow, limited idea of what they believe you should do and what is appropriate according to them. No, appropriateness as a bigger context. You need to, in a bigger overall, you need to understand the context and you need to understand your goal, right? For instance, if I have the intent to be a hooligan, correct? Right? And I go to a funeral. Yes, my intent is to be a hooligan. So I go to the funeral and I laugh and I make a noise and I make rude comments, etc. Am I being appropriate In the general, ordinary understanding of living, no. But what was my intent? My intent was to be a hooligan. Is my behavior appropriate according to my intent to be a hooligan? Absolutely. That's appropriate behavior for a hooligan. See? So appropriateness is always contextual, and it depends on your goal, right? If you go to a funeral and your intent is to be respectful, of course, then that behavior of the hooligan will be inappropriate. See? So we have to understand appropriateness doesn't make for fixed behavior. It all depends on what you're trying to do. Yes, your intent, in other words. So goals, context is what determines appropriateness. Now, how can I be more appropriate? By being more aware. How can I even be more appropriate than that? By also being in attunement. See? Self-evident stuff, self-evident stuff. And when I can combine attunement and awareness and appropriateness, and I take it all the way, right, via perspective shifting and thinking things through to the end, I get life to make sense. Yeah. So this is about value, Norma. This is about value, 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 something to use. And of course,
Yes.
I'm going to apply this. Now I say, what are the problems inherent in all of this? If I look around at myself, and I think, when I started on this way back when, well, my self-conception was completely messed up. Right. So now let's go into the bottom part, which is now where,
Just a minute, sir. Just
yeah,
a minute. Just want to add more comments from Norma.
please,
So
please,
she
please.
says that map of intent. This is what you were saying. So it's a
Yes.
map of intent. And then
Yeah.
she says appropriate with the universe too. So the
Correct.
ideas and everything
Correct.
appropriate with the
Correct.
universe too.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
definitely Norma. And then
Yeah.
she says intent to be aware of loving all caps all.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Now, intent to loving all appropriately, which means with awareness and in attunement. Loving all, simply, I hear this said over and over again, Norma, but just to love all, if you don't do so with awareness and in attunement, it can be inappropriate. For instance, loving the narcissist. It is inappropriate to love a narcissist because why? You are now condoning and strengthening and entrenching their narcissism. You're not helping them by loving them. You're not helping them by loving them. Yes. So we have to understand that love has to be appropriate. And in order to be appropriate, we need awareness and attunement. See? So that love all, yes, but there's a qualifier. You have to add as appropriate. Have to add that because loving all, like I just said, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you love a criminal or you love a narcissist, you basically say it's okay for you to be the way you are. No, it's not. No, it is not okay. I love you as a human being, yes, but I don't love your behavior, right? I have to. That's a distinction, and that distinction comes from awareness, right? And therefore allows me to love more appropriately. If we don't have appropriate love, we cause all sorts of trouble. We have to be very, very, very careful of this, right? Look at in the modern era, we see the parents that overindulge their children, right? Because they got this idea, we used to have very strict parents that gave us hidings and then said, no, this is no good. And they went to the other extreme and they just said, oh, we're going to love our children no matter what. What's the result? Thoroughly spoiled, indulgent children. And there's one woman who actually sued her mother for doing this. Right? I mean, yes, it's a bit of a metaphoric thing, the suing. It wasn't really literal. She was making a point, and she wrote a whole book about it. She said, I turned out to be a person that was so thoroughly caught up in this bubble of believing that I'm wonderful and I could do anything. Yes, that I made these efforts. I went into business, I did this and that, and I lost my shirt. I lost everything because I was totally incompetent. All I had was this irrational, completely inappropriate belief in my own wonderfulness from my mother who loved me no matter what and kept pumping this idea into me. I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. Yes. Inappropriate love. It ruined that woman's life. And she said, well, at least up until that point. So she lost everything. She failed miserably, went into calamities, all because of this over overestimation of herself caused by her mothers that pumped this into her from day one, right? So she had to start her life all over again. Yeah. So see my point, inappropriate love. So we have to be very, 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 very careful. Yes. Very, very, very careful. Very, very careful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. About loving inappropriately. I know it's a wonderfully nice sentiment, Norma, and I appreciate the sentiment. The intent of loving all is a good intent, but the application needs awareness and attunement and appropriateness. Yes? Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay? Very important. Very, very important. Very important to understand. So I really want to emphasize this, and now we get to the value of the mind map. See? Yeah. I just love it, Norma, that you're watching. Your comments are magically profound, Norma. They add so much. They add so much. Uh, but if we are getting all this, why not others? Uh, I do you mean, Norma, getting, you mean the mind map or what? I don't know what you mean by why not others. We need to share with all. One person one person can make a difference, Beena. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because almost all of the things that are transformative in our lives, yes, if we look at the history of civilization, the history of awareness, the history of language, they all started with one person at some point. Yes. Now they may have arrived at this from a group consensus, but at some point somebody shared it, and from there it went viral. So absolutely, one person can make a massive difference. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The universe loves all equally. At least we hope so, Norma. We don't know for sure, but we have to assume so. Yeah. Yeah. Again, when we say love, though, we have to now be appropriate and understanding this, and we need to apply awareness. We need to apply discernment and understanding to what is it that we mean by love. Yes, I love the narcissist as a human being, as a potential. Yeah, but I don't love their behavior. Yes, same with the criminal. So this is important to understand. It's very important. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, very, very important to make these discernments, these distinctions. Norma, just because I am saying that we need to pay attention to loving all, right? I'm not saying that love all is a negative, that we shouldn't love all. No, I'm simply saying we need to love all appropriately, right? So I'm not canceling loving all. I'm not saying love all is wrong. Yes. So it's not either or. I'm simply taking it more, right? So this mind map gives us these options, and that's very important to understand that there are options. Yes, yeah, very, very important. People who aren't aware, awareness doesn't give all to us. No, awareness does give all to us, Norma. It absolutely does. Awareness, when it's capital A awareness, right? The more aware we are, the more we are able to understand, appreciate, and connect to all. That's the mechanism, right? You weren't aware of all when you were a child. Yes, you didn't have this conception in your brain, so you had no connection to it. At least not in a conscious way. Subconsciously, unconsciously, automatically, innately, yes, but not consciously and deliberately. So we absolutely have to have awareness, capital A awareness. Unless you mean something else by aware. Yeah. But people who aren't aware, they aren't connected to things. Yes. They're in bubbles. So they can't even conceive of all, never mind connect to all. So absolutely, we do have to have awareness. Yes. Absolutely. And when we look at this mind map, right, to get back into it here, and let's look at awareness. And let's look at this its own little island here, its own little world, right? We've got attention. Yes, attention is focused awareness. And what does attention do? It trains the brain. And we can do this via self quoting. It helps to raise our awareness of ourselves, right? To train our brain. It's just a tool. Yeah? But awareness, it's conscious and deliberate. Attention, appreciation. When we say we're paying attention to appreciation, and we are appreciating consciously and deliberately via paying attention, we enhance our awareness like crazy. Yes, appreciation, it connects us then to joy, to grace, to superlatives of being. Yes, like elation and bliss, for instance, and rapture, right? And then also when we combine this all and we connect it via the abstract, yes, via abstract understanding, like for instance appropriateness, it's an abstract conception. Application is an abstract conception. So all of these are abstract concepts, yes, and they when we are able to abstract, we are able to apply our awareness with attention, and if we do so with appreciation, because you can apply awareness and attention without appreciation, but that's a great loss, which is why I include it here. It doesn't necessarily have to be there, but I include it. And then we have awareness. Awareness leads to sharing. And awareness leads to fractal conceptions. Now, I can explain what fractal conceptions means. It just means that's like a seed. Yes, a seed conception. You water it with a bit of energy and attention, and bang, you get this jungle eventually, right? And awareness leads to soul lessons and to obvious sensibility. It's incredibly powerful. Awareness is incredibly powerful. If we are aware of our own desires, our own flaws, our own insecurities, our own fears, our own uh, 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 um, um, drives, our own motivations, what gives us meaning, purpose, significance, all of that, the awareness of all of those enhances our life like crazy. Yes. It's lack of awareness that causes all problems. Take any single problem, you name it. Go ahead, name a problem. And I'll say what came before that, what came before that, what came before that. And eventually when you work it out, you go, the start of it is unawareness. Yes. All problems, unawareness. Yes. That's it. Bubbles, bubbles, people in bubbles. Take Hitler. He was in his bubble of hate, his bubble of insecurity that rose to the hate. Yes. The bubble of comparison, the bubble of blame, etc., etc., etc. All bubbles, unawareness, right? Led to all that hate, which led to all that evil of his. Yes. And in his mind, he thought he's doing good, but his idea of good was in a limited awareness, unawareness bubble. Yes, he's doing good for him and his kind, his type. He's not doing good for the planet, for everybody, right? So he loses his humanity through this distortion of his awareness because he's unaware of the bigger picture. He's caught up in that bubble, right? So unawareness is the root of all evil. Yes, and awareness is what leads to enlightenment, moreness, whatever you want to call it, right? What is enlightenment? Isn't enlightenment when your awareness steps out of the boundaries of the typical and the usual, right? And it goes into the grand moreness, and it's called enlightenment because we equate light with awareness. Yes. And in the metaphorical, in the symbolic, light and awareness, when you're talking about enlightenment, is one and the same thing. So enlightenment is when you light up the whole of, like, for instance, we could say this is our brain there. Enlightenment would be when all of these things finally fully connect. And through the connection, the power lets them all blossom like into a little mini sun, right? And this whole thing becomes a sun. Yeah, that would be the equivalent of enlightenment. Yeah. So these are like little mini points of light, like little fires, right? But you could say enlightenment is when the whole thing catches fire and becomes a sun. Yeah? But when you equate enlightenment and with light with awareness in this context, then I understand. It's when I can have the light shining when I'm aware of everything all at once. So enlightenment is maximum awareness, sun awareness. Yeah. Oh, no, it is. You're quite right. She says, your mind map looks exciting. Lots of lessons needing linkness to all, a whole brain. Exactly. Exactly. This mind map is precisely that. It requires and needs linkness. I like that. Linkness to all, a whole brain. Precisely, Norma. Precisely. However, we just started. We just started. We just started. I think, did you drop, Norma? Beena? Did you drop? I think so. So I think Nobina just dropped, but she'll come back. She'll come back. Let me just check there because I heard that. Yeah. Yeah. So Norma will come back. I want to see if maybe it was grain. There's a little sound that is made when somebody drops. All right. So Beena will be back. Norma, we're just getting started, right? We're just getting started on this. And the intent of today's live is to see how much granularity I can do. So already we've gone 3/4 of an hour on this, right? And I'm just, all right, I spent some time on your comments here, so probably 15 minutes. So about an half an hour just to explain the top part here, the philosophy of appropriateness, in other words, right? But now we're going to get into way of impeccability. So let me make this full screen again. Yes. Grin, you have just said the sun. Yes, I know. I know. Thank you, Norma. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this mind map is, Norma, is the sun the sun that produces my shine. Okay? Make sense? I know it'll make sense to you. Right. Let's now, I'm gonna put the mind map in such a way here that I can see it like this, and also keep an eye on the comments here. I don't want to miss your comments, Norma. Your comments are a treasure, an absolute wonderful, incredible treasure. Yes. They mean a lot to me. They're a big deal because you're coming at things from a particular perspective, and it allows me to elaborate and to expand. Now, this mind map is is not a mind map that is inherently self-evident. There are many things here that need extra explanation. Uh, that's just how it is. It's hard to avoid. It's hard to avoid. It's the problems of language. All right, so now I want to get through here from application. Yes. And we take application now and we say, what is involved with application? So let's get all the little yellow boxes in here, right? Application. Well, first of all, we got its one core major leg is authenticity and accountability. Authenticity is honesty, correct? Very key. Very key. Without honesty, we're wasting our time. Right? Real self, same thing. See, real self underneath it. It is and sobriety. Yes. I mean, it's like, boy, doesn't that really connect to self-honesty? You cannot be your real self if you've got lies. If you're lying about yourself. I mean, in other words, a narcissist, they are about as far away from their real self as one can imagine, because that's what narcissism is. It's constantly lying about yourself, not just to others, but also to yourself. So it's dishonesty, it's lying all the time. There's no way you can have a real self if you're just lying all the time, right? Can't do it, right? So authenticity is very important. And then accountability. All right. So through authenticity, we connect to things like nobility. Yes. If you are truly authentic with yourself and you're truly authentic about life, well, it's not necessarily that it will automatically come, but it's connected, which is why it's got a nice curvy thing there, right? Self-perception. Authenticity adds, builds, helps. It's necessary for your self-perception. It's crucial for owning the real self, right? The narcissist refuses to own their real self because their real self is hollow, because they skipped learning. They just got into pushing themselves and pretending and lying about themselves. And through the lies, they got value and they didn't think they needed to learn. Of course, as they go on in life, they realized, well, I'm actually kind of hollow and I can't really do anything except lie and pretend. Yeah. So they can't own the real self because they lack authenticity. And authenticity also connects to innocence and sophistication, both in turn. Yes. If we are truly authentic, and our authenticity learns us to learn more, learn more, learn more, apply more, be more, apply more, be more, we get to sophistication. But if we are truly authentic, we maintain our innocence. Because how do you give up your innocence? Yeah. And again, this is coming as a application here. Don't forget, it is coming as the application of attunement, appropriateness, and awareness. See, the arrows lead down into application. Yes. And now we're going to say how. Is all that follows is how. Yes. And now we go to the other side, right? Application, making it your own, making the best of it. That energy, connecting using energy. End of day think through is a tool for doing so, and also understanding incremental change is very useful for application. So these things that are connected, sometimes they flow from it, sometimes they flow to it, and they sometimes they are just an additional consequence implementation. Yeah, no problem, Norma, no problem, no problem. No problem. Norma says she has to catch up later, losing phone charge. You know that you can use your phone while it is plugged in, Norma? So just go and sit near an outlet, plug it in and keep using it. You don't have to turn the phone off to charge it. It can charge while you're using it. Yeah. A lot of people forget that, but you can. Absolutely. Right, Norma? All right. Anyhow, so I'm just saying that when we look at these boxes and how they connect, they add to our understanding of what application is, right? And like end of day think through. It's an incredible application of awareness. Yeah. You see the lines all connect. So everything is connected to everything else in some way. Ah, it's very, very powerful. And to understand application, to understand incremental change is very, very, very important. Yes. That we change in increments, but that can lead to exponential change, right? So it's not only that it's incremental, but the point here is when we apply it incrementally, then it grows, it grows, it grows, right? Very powerful. Then we get to where we dealt with authenticity, and now we go the other way, accountability. Yes, accountability connected to impeccability. Accountability is impeccability and authenticity combined. Yes, we get choice. When we are accountable, we have to say, I made the choice. I made the choice. Me. It hold me accountable, right? I made the choice. I'm responsible for it. Life responsibility, integrity, ethics. See, all put all of that together, we get accountability. Yes. Very, very key. Very, very cool. Cool. All right. Now, application. Why do I put self-conception here? Because if we are going to apply this grand philosophy of appropriateness and attunement and awareness, which is going to lead us to making sense of things, and we are going to utilize intent and impeccability, all of this marvelous magical stuff, if we don't have an appropriate self conception, this is going to thwart all of the application. In other words, if my self conception is I'm useless, I'm nobody, I don't know anything, I'm stupid, I'm bad, I don't know, I can't learn, etc., etc. All of the, I call them excuse self conceptions. Yes. Now, a lot of those are also, we need a self conception rather than a self description. Who I'm a teacher, that yes, that's but it can be very limiting. I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a doctor. That's just a bubble out of the whole totality. Yes. And that can be limiting also because a typical mother doesn't get involved in philosophy. Yeah. See? So self descriptions can be very limiting, but a self conception is something that's open ended, like all conceptions. They grow, right? Conception starts in the root word conceive. Yes. A conception, like when you conceive a child, you're creating something that ends up growing and developing. See? Same with a conception. You conceive it and it grows, it develops. As it goes along, it evolves. Yes, same as a child. So conception is very, very different to description. Description tells you what something is, and it's a static thing, right? Typically, a description is describing how the thing is now. If the thing changes, I have to change the description, right? It doesn't automatically update. A self-conception, however, does automatically update. Yes. So self-conception, very, very important. In other words, if I say, like I said, oh, all right, I'm a mother or a father. Yes. That has limitations because we have a typical understanding of what that means. But if I say I'm a spirit warrior, this is open-ended. It can mean anything. Yes. What do you mean by that? Well, a spirit warrior is someone who's impeccable and appropriate, and they live in attunement and awareness. Oh, well, that's very broad. Yes, exactly. That is very broad, right? Um, Another self-conception, I'm an evolver. What do you mean you're an evolver? Well, I'm constantly evolving and I make an effort to deliberately evolve. Makes me an evolver. Ah, okay. See, I'm not limited by anything. As an evolver, I can do anything whatsoever. I can change my behavior. I can be different. I can say different. I can act different. Doesn't matter. Whatever I feel I need to do as appropriate, I can do. And nobody's going to say, well, but that's not what a mother does or what a father does. See? Not that we're concerned with other people, but our own brain does this. Our own brain, if I say I am a this, my own brain is going to now influence me to behave according to my description. It's a self fulfilling internal prophecy. We have to really, really be acutely aware of the power of language when it comes to determining behavior. It is incredibly powerful. So, therefore, when it comes to application, we need to connect our real self and have a conception that connects our real self to application. If I have a limited self conception, which would be a self description, or a negative self conception, then I'm not really going to connect to my real self and I'm going to have a problem with application. Right? For instance, if I have a self conception that says, well, I'm kind of useless. I don't know how to learn. I'm stupid. I don't have any discipline. I can't follow through. Blah, blah, blah. What are all those but just excuses? They're excuses to protect your ego from failing and looking bad. Ugh, ego. Ugh, ego. Ugh, 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 ugh. How horrible. How limiting. Okay, stay stupid all your life. Fine. I agree with you. Okay. If you're going to have a self description that says I'm stupid, well, that's self proving. It's self proving. Yeah, you're right. If you have that self conception, then yes, I agree with you. Right? Even though you don't need to have it, you are making it true by having it so. Yeah. Now, to say, well, can I say I'm intelligent? And will this make me intelligent? Yeah, kind of, but not automatically so. You have to work at being intelligent. We can become more intelligent. We can learn to be intelligent. It's not innate. This is a false belief. It's a myth. Yes. We can absolutely learn to be more intelligent. And I don't mean intelligent in a way, at least from an American point of view, like in TV, you watch Jeopardy. Oh, they're so intelligent. No, they just have good general knowledge. They aren't necessarily intelligent. They may also be so. But intelligence, at least in my understanding, when you think about it, think it through, intelligence is the ability to learn. If you are able to learn, you can solve problems. That's what intelligence is, the ability to solve problems. Yes. Not just problems, but the ability to figure things out, the ability to learn thus, right? That is what intelligence really is. The more you are able to learn, the more intelligent you become, right? It's the learning ability that is intelligence, not what you have learned. It's the ability. Intelligence is an ability, and it's an ability that can be trained like any other ability. Yes, just takes practice. Yeah. The more you learn how to learn, the more you learn how to figure things out, the more you learn how to deconstruct, unravel things. In other words, the more you learn discernment and awareness and understanding, etc., the more you apply this, the application of everything here will make you more intelligent, will make you more aware. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to have intelligence when you have awareness. Does it matter? If you're aware of what's going on, does it matter how intelligent you are? No, it matters not at all. See? Intelligence is somewhat overrated, right? Intelligence is like the processing power of your computer. Typically, what intelligence does, it's like when you upgrade the chip, it just allows you to process things a little faster. Does it matter in the end? No. Why? Because when it comes to your spirit and your soul, you have eternity. And never mind having eternity, all time is simultaneous, really. When you really get into physics, right? Time all happens simultaneously. We just unpack that simultaneity and lay it out flat to make it linear, right? It's just so to help us become aware and conscious and deal with it simultaneously. We don't have the awareness and the attunement to be able to deal with everything happening simultaneously. It's too much for our brains, fries our brains, right? We don't get it. We don't get it. It's too much for us. It's too much for us. Let me just refresh to see if there's any additional comments here. Now, I want to get into the power and importance of self-conception. Self-conception is a gateway. You know, let's say those gateway drugs, right? Marijuana is a gateway drug. Well, self-conception is a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug. Absolutely. It's a gateway to moreness. It's very, very important to have an appropriate self-conception and an empowering self-conception. When I say appropriate, I mean empowering. A self-conception that isn't an overestimation, but it's also not a limiting underestimation. Yes. And also not a conception that is an avoidance of responsibility conception, which is what so many that people have. Oh, I'm useless. I'm no good. I'm this, I'm that. Those are just excuses because you are trying to avoid looking bad, which is an ego issue. You're avoiding failure because you see failing as the worst of all possible things. That's just ego. Somebody who loves learning, like on Nobelia, they don't even have this word failure. They know the word, but they don't use it. There's no such thing. You learn and then it doesn't work out, and then you just try something else and you try until it does. So learning failure to them is just another path. It's alternative learning. That's all. They don't even think that way. It's a nothing. It's a nothing as it should be. Yeah. All right. When you look at little children, yes, and they're learning to walk. If they were hung up about failure, they would never learn to walk. Correct? Have you seen little toddlers when they're starting to walk? They stand up and they totter about, right? Toddlers. That's what toddling is. It's really, they should be called totterers. That's what they do. They totter about, right? That's why we call them little tots. Yeah. But they totter about and then they stand up and they're tottering and they fall over. They start walking and they take one step, bang, they fall on their face. Yeah. Get up again, So another work, bang, they fall on their face again. And again, 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 right? How many times didn't your child fall down and you fell down on your face when you were a totterer? Dozens, hundreds. Did that stop you from learning how to walk? No, it didn't. However, we come in life and now we start to learn about ego and we get all self-important and, oh my God, I can't fail. This will be the end of the world. Oh, heaven forbid anybody sees me fail. Oh, end of the world. Oh my God, just end of the universe. Terrible, terrible, terrible. What a bunch of absolute rubbish. You'll never learn to walk. Now, when I say walk in our really life, look how people walk. You have to learn to really, really walk, capital W walk. No, most people just kind of move their legs and they think they're walking. No, walking is a profound skill. And when you can walk the walk, in other words, right, you've learned through falling down and it's not an issue. And you keep falling down and it's not an issue, right? In other words, if you want to raise our awareness, if we want to be more, we have to be able to figuratively fall down. Is this magical Beena here that's come back?
Yes, yes, my network drops.
Oh,
So yes.
I felt that. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I haven't really. I'm just starting here on self-conception, and I was elaborating on how critically important self-conception is. That we don't have limiting and severely debilitating self-conceptions like I can't learn, I'm stupid, I'm useless, I'm bad, blah blah blah.
Yes.
Right? All of these self-conceptions are self-fulfilling prophecies. The power of your self-conception on yourself is inordinate. So we want to have, of course, an appropriate self-conception that comes from our awareness and is in attunement. Yes? So, in other words, don't have a false self conception that's an overestimation. Likewise, don't have a false self conception that's an underestimation. Have a self conception that's open ended, like being an evolver. Oh, well, what's an evolver? I'm somebody who's interested in evolving. Yeah, it's an ongoing thing, it adjusts. So, your self conception grows with you. That's a self conception rather than a definition which describes the current state of affairs. Yes. If I describe my car and then I get into an accident, well, that description is no longer valid. See, has to change. But a self conception, well, this is I'm a car. Well, I'm a vehicle, and well, at least maybe in a more broad context, I am a bunch of metal that, if working properly and all put together, will convey things, right? But when you understand it, if that if in there, well, if it's not working properly, then it won't convey anything, like it's got in an accident. See, the self-conception allows for the changes. It's not the best of examples, but it serves the purpose. So self-conception here, the reason why it is so critically potent is because it is strategic self-leverage. On the one side, in order to take it from the one angle, and if we come from the other angle, the self-conception is the culmination of everything that's in your personal dictionary of power. Now, what's in your dictionary of power? What's in my dictionary of power? Well, terms like appropriateness, perspective shifting, makes sense, grand scheme, meaning of life. All of these terms are in my dictionary of power, right? Because they all give me power, right? They are conceptions that add to my understanding of life, the universe, and everything, right? They empower me. They give me power, right? They enable me to utilize my understanding, my awareness, and to apply it. Yes. Now, what is power compared to energy? What is the difference? What is the technical definition of power? It is energy that is utilizable. That's what power is. Yes. Energy that's utilizable. Yeah. Very important. Very important. I mean, for instance, when you say the power of a generator or a motor, right, can generate so much power. That's how much you can use to move things and turn things and whatever, right? The energy is the fuel. Yeah? Power is applied energy. The motor allows you to take that energy and apply it, giving you power. So all of these things, yeah, they are like the fuel, yeah, but you need to apply them. But it's very potent. Like they can say the little motors, as it were, not just the fuel. Yeah, very powerful. So the self conception is a gateway here. It's a choke point. See, when we go from this, why I put it in here. If you don't have an appropriate self-conception, you might want to be appropriate. You may want to be in attunement. You may want to have awareness, and you may want to apply this all. But if you have a self-conception that says, "Well, I'm stupid. I don't know," then it's just going to die here, and you're not going to get past this choke point, and what's going to come out will be very feeble and won't really get you anywhere. All right. Now we say, okay, I get you on self-conception, and it's in red. See, and it connects to this, which is also in red. Okay, it's just slightly less, but it's in this deep red because it's connected to awareness, right? Self-conception is an awareness. See, all connects. Now, the colors, they didn't have that great a range of colors, and so I tried to make them connect like in the shades here, of this. Um, so just live with it. It's not as 100% as I would like it to be, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close, right? So we get this. I mean, they had limited colors. I couldn't really do it as entirely thoroughly as I wanted to be. All right, now we say self-conception. What do you mean by self-conception? Let's have an appropriate self-conception. Let us apply sobriety to our self-conception. Yes. Let us include sobriety to our self-conception. What would that mean? What would an appropriate self-conception that applies awareness and attunement and intent and impeccability? We take it all the way through. See, like all these arrows, and they're all leading through sobriety. Come to character. Yes, our self-conception is an awareness in attunement and appropriate to our character. Now we get to way of impeccability. Right here. Right here. This is way of impeccability. The heart of way of impeccability, right? Character, ways of being, ways of living. Self-conception. Yes, what's underneath this? Habit management, right? Now it's a little spread out here because these things are long. I mean, this should be a little closer, but again, the limitations of the software and the mind map, right? So now we see this is all of this stuff here. It's way of impeccability, strategy, emphasis, all part of way of impeccability, and it's going to lead to what's at the bottom. See, all of these things are leading down, leading down, leading down. Get us to that, right? Okay, we'll get to where we're going with this as we get there. So we say character. That's what this is all about. If I don't have a self-conception that is based on and founded and supported by good character, I'm not going anywhere. Yes, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Might as well be wasting my time because character is our underpinnings. It's our foundations. Yes. Yeah, very important. So our way of being is going to flow from our character. Our way of living is going to flow from our character. Yes. And our self-conception is a consequence of our character. Likewise, our self-conception is also the origin of our character, or can be. Yes. In other words, if I have an appropriate self-conception that leads me via sobriety to enhancing and building and developing my character, right, then I get that moreness, right? So it works both ways here, right? They're connected. They're connected. It's very, very powerful. So these ways of being, now I'm not going to go through all of them because this is, again, going to take a very long time, right? And all the detail here. I want the detail. Well, I'm just going to take one path. So ways of being, I get attitudes. And these are the attitudes. And then I get mindsets, right? So I got ways of being will give me moods, mindsets, attitudes, attributes, perspectives, core characteristics. Okay, so pick one of those, Beena or Norma. Moods, mindsets, attitudes, attributes, perspectives, core characteristics. Pick one that grabs you, that you like, that you want to elaborate on. Which one? Moods, mindsets, attitudes, attributes, perspectives, core characteristics. Which one, Beena?
Attitude. Attitude.
Attitudes. Okay, so we get attitudes right here. Now, this mind map is about application, right? This is how to apply all of that philosophy, right? Let's not
Yes.
lose our purpose and our clarity of intent. Yes, yes. This application
Yes.
is the application of awareness, appropriateness, and attunement. Yes. And how do we apply it? Through having a self-conception that leads us to developing our character. Character is what enables appropriate application with awareness. So we say ways of being, yeah, is one way of that this connects to. Our character allows us to have different ways of being, like attitudes, right? For instance, a particular attitude such as modesty, appropriate attitude of eagerness, appropriate attitude of earnestness. Yes. And we've got eagerness again. I don't know why. Sometimes just some of these, I need to go back and edit them, right? And unwanting. Yes, appropriate desire, in other words, unwanting. Very powerful attitude to have, right? So these are things that we can do to start on. They're not all the ways in which we have appropriate attitude, right? And I forgot what was meant to be here with eagerness, but I guess if I look closely, I'll find it again, right? But these are attitudes that say, wow, if I start to work on my modesty, I work on my eagerness, I work on my earnestness, I work on my unwantingness, I work on my I suppose as an attitude, I could say my positivity. Yes, that would be with eagerness as opposed to positivity. Right? Those are magical applications which add ways of being via attitude. Yes, make sense? I mean, earnestness
Yes.
as an attitude is also a way of being. To be earnest, correct? To be eager is a way of
Yes.
being. To be modest, yeah. So very powerful. And then, of course, all of these go into detail. And you can go on the other side, ways of living, you get all the detail. Same thing, right? So this is just when we get into way of impeccability, we start to get into what do we mean by resonance? What do we mean by sophisticated? What do we mean by understanding, right? As essentials, earnest goodness, right? What do we mean again on this side? What do you mean as earnestness? So this is the dictionary of power. We take earnestness and we understand precisely what earnest is by thinking it through to the end and perspective shifting to multiple perspectives. Yeah, looking at it from all of those different facets until it falls into place and we click, okay, I get it now. Right. So these are those why those are such powerful tools. And way of impeccability is going through all of this through takeaways and repeat backs. You get to determine what earnestness means, not me. You do it. You. Because if I do it for you, you just end up believing me, and that's no good. You got to make it your own. You got to make it your own. Very, very important. I think making it our own is somewhere in here. Forget where it was. It was one of these smaller ones. No, yeah, application. You have to make it your own and make the best of it, right? But you have to make it your own. Otherwise, you don't make it your own, you don't end up with a real self-conception. And sobriety, likewise, will tell you, you can't just be believing stuff. No, sobriety is a super sensibility. Yeah? You've got to make it your own. You've got to figure it out for yourself. You've got to have the ability to figure it out for yourself. Yeah? Otherwise, you're just going to go around trusting everyone else, and that's going to lead to trouble in a big deal in a hurry, right? Not very appropriate. All right. So now we take this. Let's start again. So we get to the bottom part, yeah? And this is the philosophy of appropriateness. The intent is to be appropriate, utilizing awareness and attunement, taking those and applying them. Applying all of our awareness and our attunement enables us to be appropriate. The tools of application is self-conception, is character. And furthermore, we get into other tools that build our self-conception, or at least help us refine our self-conception, because a self-conception is something that needs to be conscious and deliberate. Yeah, we get habit management, and from habit management we get mood management and energy management, and from this we get other managements like association management, yes, and attention management. When you put all of these managements together, it is again application of character and self-conception. See, they joined here together, right? Very powerful connectivity. Yes. So this again, unrelenting positivity, unbending intent, implementation again connects to impeccability, because now we are bringing our conscience and our scrupulousness into it. Yes. Because if we are going to be impeccable and we have habits, which what is a habit? But something that has been set up, a little mini program that allows us to do something while being unaware. Mm, wow, that leads to lots of problems, right? Because can I really be scrupulous and in full conscience do things that I'm unaware of? Problematic, yes, because our habits often lead us to really inappropriate behavior. So then when we understand all this, right, energy management, we get things like self-talk and optimizing, changing routines. Yeah, and through mood management, we get mood shifting. Yes, and first thing in the morning, mood shifting, very powerful. And we get others as self, just as a tool for mood management and private positivity, all of the stuff. That's tools, tools, tools. All of these are tools, right? It's like you could say this is a screwdriver, and then these are the Phillips, and then you get the Allen keys and stuff, right? So all tools, but in the same kind of a sphere, right? I mean, there are many different types of what are generally I don't know if screwdrivers is the overall category, like wrenches is the overall category. I mean, there's a zillion different kinds of wrenches, right? So this is all the same way, right? But if you think of these as power tools, then we get now when we understand and we say, yeah, let me get this toolbar out of the way, yeah, right? When we say, where are we heading? Where are we heading with all of this, right? We are starting. This is our appropriateness. If we say one direction we can go from this is to this massive overview perspective of making sense of everything. In other words, understanding what the meaning of life is and understanding what the grand scheme is. Making sense, right? If you make sense of life, you'll know what the grand scheme is and life will have meaning, right? This is very important, yeah? But the other way is more personal, right? We're getting into ourself, me, yes? Because look, application, self-conception, my character, taking ways of being, ways of living, applying them all, going, managing habits, managing moods, energy, all of this, right? And applying all of the above impeccably and applying it strategically. All right, we get to strategy is very important point here. That's why it's in this dark. Yes, this leads to power. Yeah. Now, when I say power here, I mean like capital C confidence. I mean connectedness. I mean self-ease. I mean personal freedom. I mean ultimate survival. I mean deliberately usable energy. I don't mean power as in dominance and bullying and being a dictator and none of that nonsense. That's not power. That's abuse. That's indulgence. That's foolishness and fearfulness. A dictator is one of the most fearful beings ever. Yeah, that's terrible, right? So power, we get strategy, we get leverage, we get power, right? And then we insist. And what does this all lead to? It leads to more. Now, this should really be moreness, not more. It leads to moreness. What is moreness? Moreness is one another way of looking at magic. Yes, it's fluid reality. It's silent knowledge. It's independence of being. Moreness. Yes, this is our end goal. Moreness. Yes. If we have moreness of being, independence of being. This is incredible power. If we have magic in our lives, again, if you don't understand, don't believe in magic, like Biella says, for heaven's sake, change your definition, right? Silent knowledge. This a lot of people say this is intuition, for instance, the ability to use it, to know without knowing. Again, these are very broad terms that need much elaboration. But when we understand the end goal being moreness, and we connect this moreness to the very top with makes sense. Yeah, if we um, if we get to that point where life makes sense, then we have moreness, right? So when we think of this whole mind map, it loops around, and moreness is connected to make sense, right? There should be a little arrow here that like a little curvy arrow, like, going down around like this, and the bottom again the same thing, right? That this whole map connects back to itself. Yes, it's very important to understand it as being circular. It's very important. I mean, same thing with attunement and awareness. When you put it on a globe, right, those two connect on the backside again. See, so the same thing with moreness and makes sense. But there's a point to this. There's a purpose to it. There's a value to it. Yes, and when we get here to this, I would add another little third one here, a fifth one, I mean, which would be superlatives of being, moreness, to have the ability to have from awareness, full maximum awareness leads to rapture, elation, bliss. Yeah? That's where those terms come from, being fully connected to the universe. This is rapture. That's where it comes from in the old religious terminology, the monks and the ascetics and the holy people. That's what they sought. Full communion with God led to rapture. And God being a synonym for the universe, same thing. It doesn't matter. Right? Moreness energy. It's moreness. All of that is moreness. So I will update this. I think there's a typo somewhere over here too. Maybe didn't quite make capitalization appropriately, whatever. I have to just go back and tweak it. And I will do this. It's on my list of things to do and update this from more to moreness. Does that help? Does that help as an awareness of the mind map and where it's going, Beena? Oh, I guess not then.
Yes, I'm here.
I'm saying that does it help my
Yes,
my
yes,
sharing
yes,
and going into
yes,
detail? Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, you have a connection to understanding what this mind map is all about. Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. And on this mind map, I don't have Nobelia-Living. I have noble or nobleness somewhere, yeah. But I want to say there's more, that this can, yeah, noble ideal, right? Attunement leads to the noble ideal. And the noble ideal, I feel, is a little undervalued here. But again, I have to stress that this is like your basics, really. Yes, the noble ideal is an option, a choice. Yes, it's not. That's why it's a little bit undervalued here. But I should rather say it's not that noble ideal is missing. It is just that it's another way of understanding what Nobelia-Living is. So I meant Nobelia-Living is not missing here. This is what comprises Nobelia-Living, but Nobelia-Living cannot be here because Nobelia-Living is the application of all of this as a choice. Yes, and you don't have to make this your choice. If you don't, well, all right. There's nothing that says you have to or should. This is just, it's valuable if you do. I mean, it takes, again, where's effort reward? Where was effort reward? It was here somewhere. Where's effort reward? Help me find effort reward, Beena. Here it is. See? Yes. When you take, there's a lot of effort reward. We've got sobriety, effort reward in this application of character. See? Application of character. Yes, we take this as a smaller one. Right? If bias, sobriety, and effort reward leads us to impeccability, strategy, power, and moreness. Yeah. But this is, we have to insist and extract. We have to apply leverage. In other words, we have to feel that this moreness is worth the effort. Nobody can tell you it is, because of course, if we start to look at this, there's a lot of effort involved. But when we understand that the effort is also joy, when we love learning and growing, when I'm doing all of these things, I'm practicing perspective shifting. I'm practicing understanding what the final arbiter of truth is, right? There's a key conception. I figure it out. I work it out. Force of circumstance. I figure out what that is. Effort toward balance. Those are key conceptions. Absolutely key conception. There's a key conception missing here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is. Never mind, never mind, never mind. A key conception is perspective shifting. A key application is thinking things through to the end. All of these things you can say, well, all right, thinking things through to the end is also a key conception, right? Perspective shifting is a key application. I think the reason I broke it down like this is because of just symmetry. It gives me 4 and 4. I don't know. Just, I don't know. I like symmetry in some way. It's the way it worked out. Again, you can move a lot of this around because it's all interconnected, right? So these are just usefulnesses, yes? So applications, deliberate conscious awareness, self-empowerment, personal power. Yeah, it is powerful stuff. Again, the mind map is not complete. This is like we are trying to look at the globe. Yes, and a map is flat. You don't get the full picture, right? You can't see all of the globe all at once. There is no map that can do that because you can't see the backside of it, right? So we have to understand that this is not complete and never can be. You have to add in as appropriate for yourself. Yes. But it's a guide, it's a starting point. Yes. And you can
Yes.
add and subtract from these as you wish. Yes. But the coreness of it, that's there. And it's very hard to move away from that because it's a self-evident sensibility of how life works. Yeah. And tools that enable you to get more out of life, right? To connect to moreness. See? Is the intent of this is to get you to moreness. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
fine. It's up to you. It's up to you. Just apply the effort reward, right? And also, what I like about this, by the way, if you look at this map, it has somewhat of the human body connected, right? We get the head up here, we get the body, we get the arms, and then we get down, legs. Well, the feet are kind of together here, right? Because this is a body in balance. And the hands are very empowered hands, got lots of fingers. Right? So it's a metaphoric body. The same thing with the brain. It's got massive ears. And you could say the mouth is a super mouth, right? Lots of things happening. All the yellow is the mouth, right? And these are the ears. Capital H earrings, right? So important. And you got the higher brain, right? The stuff that's popping out of the core of the brain, being the core, yeah. Right? Just a fun way of thinking about it. And even though the legs are the feet are together, the legs have kind of stabilizers, like energy stabilizers around them.
You're
And
not
there's a
sharing a screen, so we cannot see
oh
that.
oh 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 oh. Let me go back and do this. Should have said
Yes.
earlier, Beena.
Now I was there, but you were talking, and I said, okay, it's okay, no
Interrupt me.
problem.
Just say share screen, share screen. Just interrupt. Just say share screen, share screen, and I'll stop. All right. So if we look at this as a body, we've got the head up here, right? Now it's an
Yes.
abstract body. So let's just understand it's an abstract body, yes? And we take this whole as the head. And so we've got this like our conscience, our higher awareness up here, right? In the top part of the head. And then we've got these two massive, great big ears. Isn't awareness kind of an ear? Isn't attunement a kind of an ear? Especially if we think of it in terms of capital H hearing. Absolutely.
Yes.
In other words,
Yes.
ears as mechanisms for perception, right? You can say
Yes.
ears, eyes, doesn't matter. All of these are extended perception. These are which allows the brain to perceive awareness and attunement. But of course, you also have to apply. And the body, what is the body for? The body is there for you to apply, is it not? If you adjust the brain without the
Yep.
body, you wouldn't be
Yep.
able to, you'd just be sitting on the shelf
Exactly.
thinking and it'd be
Exactly.
useless, right? So you need
Exactly.
application. So this is the body. And we've got the heart of things, which is your character. Well, duh, well, duh, well, duh.
Yes.
Your voice, if you take this as the voice box, your self conception is your voice, how you sound. Voice, as in capital V voice, like when they say an author's voice or the character's voice. Yeah. That voice is how you conceive of them, it's their style, their vibe. Yeah. So self conception, it really enables you. You think of self conception and voice as being synonymous or connected, very, very powerful, and your heart is your character. Now, then these become your arms and your hands. Man, these are hands that have got just like a zillion fingers here, like, man, super hands, right? But that's what it is. When you have hands, and hands are the super tool of the body, there's no other body part that is as magically able to apply as the hand. Plus, I can't do this with my foot. If you can see, I don't know if you can see my picture. Can you, Beena? You see my
Yes.
hands a little small
Yes.
there, right? And we just
Yes.
make different shapes with your hands. Okay, application. I can't do that
Yes.
with my foot. So the hand,
Exactly.
as from a figurative point of view, from being able to
Yes.
apply and express, all of this is appropriate when you understand it in the abstract, right? Our hands can do more than just being a simple thing because of the way we can use our hand, right? All of that variability in the hand allows us to do more. So when we take our heart and we apply it via application of ways of being, ways of living. In other words, implementation, right? Ways of being, ways of living. If I zoom in a bit here, right? Character. This is an implementation of character, our way of being, correct? It's an implementation of character, ways of living, implementation of character. Implementation, you do it hands, symbolically, figuratively, metaphorically, right? So these are our hands and fingers and all that, right? And I mean our hands multiple. I mean, yes, our toes technically have the same amount of joints in them, but they don't quite bend the same way, right? And we
Yes.
can't do all the same application. So anyway, so when we look at this as the body again, and then we say it all boils down into our feet, which is our foundation, our moreness, our connection. And what do our feet do? They provide balance. Now, in this case, this is a body in balance, which is why the feet are together, right? To really symbolize the ability to stand with your feet together. If you as a person don't have good balance and not in balance, you can't stand with your feet together. You fall over, right? So it just symbolically represents that. But also, if you look at all of this, you can say it's like a statue that stands on a pedestal, right? Or like when they have a suit of armor, it stands on that little pedestal. So there's a support, in other words, that holds you up, and this is all the support underneath here. Now that moreness also is when you're standing, when you truly have stance, you connect to the earth. You're connecting to the world, earth as a symbolic moreness, yes? And that connectivity And when we have this makes sense, right? It is our connectivity to the moreness of the world. Through that, we connect to the universe. Yeah. So this standing here and having appropriate stance and posture, in other words, that leads to connectedness. Right? So this whole symbolic figure is standing here perfectly balanced, connected to the moreness of earth, the world, universe, attunement, everything, right? When we now connect this to the top here, right, the supports of these, looping it around, then we'll have those as the supporting thing here, right? All of this moreness, what keeps us grounded, connected, yes, and real. So it's all there's a moreness to this. There's a moreness to this, yeah. And again, the green is to my eyes is tad discordant here. I would have preferred a color that is in this color spectrum of, the reds, the yellows, the oranges, right? But there wasn't another one available, I mean, even I used all the pinks and that. So, all right, so be it. But I guess green connects to the world, it's like green thumb, right? So hands, fingers, growing, moreness. All right. So fair enough, it worked. But I'm just saying aesthetically, it would have been different. But it's hard, again, these things are all interconnected. And I'm separating and grouping in order for us to conceive. But understand these are very loose conceptions that it can change. You can move a lot of this around. And when you see the actual original mind map, if I like click and hold on character and drag it, now you can't see me doing that. If I were to move this up, everything gets dragged along with it. It's quite fantastic. Actually, very appropriate how that is, right? That everything, I mean, it will, if I move this up and down, it will change the positioning of everything up here as well. It's quite fantastic. Quite fantastic. So be aware that everything here is connected to everything else. Yes. Now, I mean, you can see it in the connections. If I go from awareness, I go down, I come back here to ways of living, and I come here, right? Or I go through application, I come back down to ways of being, and I get all of this, right? And likewise, attunement, see, is connected. Yeah. See, right? Everything is connected. Everything is
Yes,
connected. Everything
yes,
is connected.
yes.
I mean, I didn't make connections with each one to everything else because then the mind map would be a mess. But in your brain, you have this little guy here will have, I don't know how many little boxes there are. Let's say there's 100 boxes. Each box will have 100 connections, yes, to everything else. Yeah, basically like on my map behind me, right, on my background. Yes, let me make this full screen, right, so we can see. Yeah. You see how, well, these are only connecting on the surface, but you see this one is connected to that one to this one to this one, that one. See, all connected here. Yes. So they are connected via nodes connecting to others. You see, like this isn't, or this one here isn't directly connected to that. It's sort of connected through this. But still, this gives the idea of interconnectivity. And when our brain, well, it's more three-dimensional than this. Everything is connected to everything. Sometimes they're connected via other things, which is what these kind of node points. Now, they don't show nodes here a little bit more. A node is where you have like many, many connections. You see, like this one here is more connected than this guy. This guy only has what, 5 connections to it? One, two, three, oh, four only, right? See, so it's just a kind of a waypoint. But this guy, man, he's got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. Yeah, see, it's a bit more of a node. Now, in your brain, when you get multiple connections like this, then it's enlarged and it becomes a node rather than just a pathway, right? And okay, these are mini nodes on the pathway, but this gives you an idea a little bit of how the brain looks, right, and how it works. And why are those nodes bigger? Because they are an abstract level higher conceptuality.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Much like in the mind map. See,
exactly.
if you look at the bigger squares in my mind map, where's my screen share? If you look at the bigger blocks, the bigger, not squares, the bigger I don't know, blocks, whatever you call these, right? I guess they're rectangles, but I don't know what the boxes. That's the word for them, right? That the core ones are connected to more things. You see, like I mean, if we just go here, and we've got appropriateness, It's kind of on its own. It just, those are there just to understand what appropriateness is. Right? But appropriateness connects. It's a big point, and it goes to this, and it goes to that, and goes to this. But in the end, everything connects back to it. Yes, it's like a lead, it's like the apex of the pyramid. And if you take this is its own little world here, which has these three and then those four. Right? See. And they're not, they don't connect directly to anything else. They go back to awareness. From there, they connect. See, so that's what the nodes are. But awareness is a huge topic. Look at it. It's got all this here. It's got all that there and all this there. Right. But I mean, and these are, attention is a super powerful concept. Right. For instance, you need to apply all of these. You need attention. Yes. Which is why awareness via attention. And of course, I added appreciation here as a choice. You don't have to have appreciation, but it's very helpful. And mostly when we have awareness, we just think of it like at school. We are just taught attention is connected to awareness. We're not even taught that having an awareness of the abstract is incredibly empowering. Yes, as is appreciation. If you can apply your awareness and your attention with appreciation and also automatically connect to the abstract, you suddenly empower yourself like crazy. Right? It's really sad to me that appreciation isn't automatically in our childhoods connected to attention and awareness. Right? Attention and awareness in school is a negative. If you don't pay attention, you get into trouble. If you're unaware, you get into trouble. Terrible. Terrible. So, in other words, we grow up with negative associations to attention and awareness. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And connecting to the abstract, oh my God, people, oh man, abstract stuff. No, that's like complicated. That's difficult. Stressful. And then give it up. No appreciation. That's very important. But what I'm saying is that, we can connect attention directly to all of these because that enhances this. But when we have these bigger boxes, when we keep them with us all the time, right? So we want to always have an awareness of appropriateness, of attunement, of application, always be connected to our self-conception, our character. We want to make it innate so that our character applies to all of this. Included in our character is an appreciation of awareness. Included in our character is a connectivity, right, to attunement. See, character
Yes.
attunement is directly connected, and you can go via appropriateness. I don't have to even go character application attunement. I don't have to go via appropriateness because by the time I really understand this, I know it's appropriate to always be connected to awareness and attunement, right? See, I go character all the way to appropriateness. I connect attunement and awareness, duh. Or I go the other way and automatically attunement and appropriateness come together, come along with awareness, right? Appropriateness and awareness comes along with attunement. They all come along with application. My brain, by understanding this, is able to group all of these things together, which is the power of the mind map. It allows your brain to comprehend a complexity as a singular. Yes, this is a map. I can perceive one thing at a time, but the map is inclusive of all of this, right? So my brain can say, wow, I don't have to remember these things individually. I can remember them as the map. And we can remember groupings much easier than trying to remember 20 things
Yes.
individually. That's why stories are so important. If you break up a story, right, and take a story and break it up into disparate parts. You take a little bit of the ending, the pre-ending, and then you take the just after the beginning, and then you take this. You take all the different things. Try and remember a story. Like let's say a story has 30 chapters. Scramble those chapters randomly with your computer, and now the order that it gives you, remember them each individually, without having that connectivity of story. This is a task of memory, and it's very difficult to do, correct? But when it's a story, you remember everything in the story because it's a story. That's how our brain works. Our brain is trained. Our brain has a separate part. It's a little individual brain that is our story brain. Our brain takes what we understand and turns everything into story. It happens inside us, right? So this map is the story. The story. That's why it's so important to understand that there is kind of a start and then it goes somewhere. It's got a digression. Like any story, you've got a main path that you're following. We're going from here to the bottom and then we're going from here up. That's the story, right? And the up connects to the bottom. That's the story. The story is the path. The story is the path. Does that mean the path can't have digressions? No, like all good stories, right? They don't necessarily follow linearly. And sometimes you get a bit of backstory, you get a bit of history, you get a digression that doesn't really mean anything. Like, okay, you've got the story of your main hero and they have a love affair. Does it really matter on his quest, his mission, the hero or her hero, the heroine's mission? No, the love thing is just it's a side story. It may be the main story if it's a love story, but if it's a heroic quest story, typically they're a side story, right? Or you get where they meet their parents in the story. Do we really need this for the quest? No, but it's interesting. See, side stories. So when we understand that much of these things are in the context of story, they don't necessarily take our main story. Our brain is able to make digressions when you know what the main story is. It can handle going on a digression. It's like driving on the highway and you turn off and you follow little side paths, sides, that those doesn't matter. You can do this. You can do this. Yes. Our brain is able to handle digression. And detour. Yes, we can handle detour. Sometimes a detour you go and like where you could say a detour is if I'm going here and I go there and then come this way and I skip the middle. That's usually how detours are. But many detours will just go sideways and then come right back again, right? Which is more digression than detour. And technically, a detour makes you avoid some things on your path. A digression, you go back and you come back to the same point and then continue. Nonetheless, our brain can handle detour and digression. It understands it. It doesn't let us disconnect from the totality awareness. This is all totality awareness. And then the value of this, to answer Norma's question, the value of this is it gives the brain the ability to conceive all this complexity as one. And from one we can go two, and then two goes to four, and four goes to eight, and so on. So in other words, we have a pathway to complexity that we can travel down at our will anytime. Yes. So it makes it useful. I don't have to remember all of these little boxes individually. That's very difficult to do. Yes. When we group them like this, it makes it easy to understand. And me personally, I like right now, I can't read what these boxes are. I have no idea what they are. All I remember is appropriateness, attunement, awareness, application. Yes. Self-conception, character. Yes. This I remember. I remember character and I remember the application through ways of being, ways of living, and then the tools of habit management or just management tools, right? But they all fall under like association management. It's really habit. So habit is the core. And impeccability ties it all together. Strategy ties it all together, all leading to power, all leading to moreness. This I don't have to look at this map. I know this. I know this. I know this innately. I know that awareness is dependent on attention, and awareness has to be connected to the abstract. It does not have to be attached to appreciation. This is bonus, right? This is me putting it. I feel it has to be because if not, then what's the point? What's the point if there's no joy? So to me, it is necessary, but technically, you don't have to have it, right? We really want to get technical, but for me, it's essential. Same thing with attunement, alignment, and anomalies, acting without agenda, all essential. So one thing flows to the other. I don't necessarily remember it all, but because I understand it, I can get to these points. I can get to them. I can see how them. I can apply them. So these are all. It's a tool. A map is a tool. A map is a tool, and particularly a map is a tool of comprehension. Yes. Am I screen sharing?
No,
Oh. Oh, all right. Well, never mind. I didn't need to screen share there. All right.
no,
A
you
map,
were
right?
describing, so yes.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah, a map is a tool for comprehension, right? And this is what this is. Now, yes, the term mind map. That's why Norma asked whose mind is this of. It implies it's of this. This is a map of the mind of the universe, as far as I'm concerned, or of intent, to be more appropriate. This is the map of the mind of intent.
Yes.
The intent to moreness, the intent to goodness, the intent to awareness, the intent to enlightenment, the intent to empowerment, doesn't matter. All of those intents are served by this map. Yes. Which is why that intent is at the apex of this pyramid. Yeah. There are two pyramids here. It's the apex of both of those pyramids. Right? It's an overlaid pyramid. Yes. Intent is crucial. Intent is crucial. It's what ties it all together. So it's a mind map of the mind of intent. Yeah. Make sense, Beena?
Yes,
All right.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Any questions about the map?
No, no.
Any comments about
I
the map?
yes, yes. Not question, but yes.
Go
This
ahead.
was okay. When first time when I saw this one, I was literally, it was a mind blowing thing because when we are learning,
Beena, to interrupt you. Are you talking through the phone? Can
no,
you, wherever your mic is, either hold it still or maybe move your mouth a little away from it. I'm hearing extra sounds like shuffling or breathing on the mic or something.
oh, I don't
Just
know.
be still.
No, is it better now?
Well, it may be your charger also making a
Maybe,
sound.
no, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, now it's better.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Now you're clear. Yeah.
Okay. So when first time I saw this mind map, that was the first mind map ever for me. So that was really mind blowing because I was thinking like why we don't have for everything, like for every learning.
Correct.
Because that
Correct.
was the first time when I saw that okay, a person who is more visual like me needs things like in
Yeah.
that format, and I was like, why don't we have that like for English learning, for any language learning, for maths, for everything? It has to be the connectivity is there, and I can see that physically there. So that was the first thing, of course, because that was the first time. But now, when I was listening to you and I was looking at this mind map, I was amazed by that these concepts are very abstract. These
Correct.
concepts are so new and complex.
Yeah.
We
But
need making something like this is a huge task. One can go wrong very easily,
yeah.
very easily.
Oh
And
yeah.
on top of that, making connection, uh, even though they all are connected to each other.
Correct. Correct.
Maintain that structure, that discipline is so powerful, so powerful. So I was just amazed by that how
Yeah.
this thing, because for me, if I have to, as an abstract point of view, I would create everything connected to everything
Yes.
just rent.
Yes. 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 Yes.
But
I
having this
yeah.
structure is so beautiful.
Yes. In other words, Beena, this mind map requires real learning to be able to utilize.
Exactly.
And that's where way of
Exactly.
impeccability comes in. Now, way of impeccability isn't teaching in the usual sense because teaching comes and it tells you, and you've got to remember this is what teaching means. No, no,
This is something my teachers, okay, yes, ideally every teacher wants
right,
to say that okay, oh yes, you
right,
have to understand, you have to understand, but actually it never happened. But
precisely,
after
precisely,
doing way of impeccability, at least now I
right,
realize that
Be-
I never ever
right,
ever try to memorize anything, but they are
exactly, exactly. You get to know it to the point where you can innately apply it. And you do
yes,
this through
innately.
all of the tools, like thinking it through to
Yes,
the end, perspective shifting, repeat backs, takeaways, application, discussion, sharing. Yes,
yes,
testing, observing in your life, etc., etc. Right? Application. So this is the mind map. It's not only a map of where you're going, but it is also a map of the tools to use to get to where you want to go. Yes, both together.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so it's
yeah.
time to wrap up now.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it is.
So thank you so much for sharing, Syl. Thank you so
Oh,
much for
absolute
sharing. This is so
pleasure.
brilliant.
Absolute pleasure.
I'm not saying that because this is something that I know. I shared that okay how
Yes.
profound it was because that was the first time I ever actually seen anything like this. The concept was new
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
But now when I was looking at it, I understand the more complexities involved into that because
Yes.
this it is very 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 I must say difficult, complex. to
Oh yeah,
actually maintain this discipline there, because
yeah,
otherwise
yeah.
everything is connected to everything. So how can you actually make that? But now
Yes,
I understand it more easily. So thank you
yes,
so much for sharing.
yes.
Thank you so much,
Before you
Norma,
go,
for being
before you
here.
go, my takeaway here, right?
Yes.
I'm sharing this with a purpose to get back clarity of intent, right? This is a digression
Yes.
in a way, right? It's a very particular
Yes.
purpose. My bigger purpose of this particular live was to share the mind map to get an understanding of how long it takes to explain, right? So
Yeah.
when I look at the time, okay, yes, I was dealing with Norma's questions and that, so it took away. But I can explain the philosophy of awareness, the top part, the head part, in a half hour. Yes. And I could do the bottom part or the middle part in another half an hour, which is the way of impeccability part. Yes. But, not
Yes.
but, or and. My takeaway from this is I'm thinking that what I think I want to do in the podcast, because there's 5 that are on video, yes, is in the first video to talk about Nobelia, to describe Nobelia, the culture, the planet, the people, the mourners, from a point of view of the romance of it. And I mean romance in the broad sense, not love affairs, not in the romance as in the romantic era. Yes, in terms in other words, the mourners, but the mourners from an exciting point of view, from an enjoyment, like an eagerness, an enthusiastic point of view. Like, look, the romance of Harry Potter is being in Hogwarts, being in that environment, being in a universe, in a world where you magic exists and you learning magic, right? So the magic of the Harry Potter story, the romance part of it is Hogwarts, not he's
Yes.
living under the staircase. That's very
Yes.
unromantic again, right? See what I mean
Yes.
by romance? It's what gets you excited.
Yes.
So I want to share the romance of nobilia and the new nobility and the concept of nobleness and a concept of living according to nobleness and moreness and way of impeccability and the romance of way of impeccability and moreness, that it's a tool that gets you out of living in fear, that gets you excited, right? So everything, the first one is all about what is exciting. Yes, about what I do, what I'm about, my world, the world of Nobelia, world of way of impeccability, world of moreness, world of capital H hearing, world of understanding the superiority paradigm, the world of having an alternative, etc., etc., etc. Right? That's my. Will you write this down, please, Beena? That the first one is the romance of Nobelia-Living. Yes, romance of Nobelia, romance of Nobelia-Living. Yes, and the philosophy of nobleness, moreness, way of impeccability, etc. Right? The romance of it all. Then I think in the second and the third and the fourth and even the fifth is to use the
Uh,
mind map to go into sharing the detail underlying, because the mind map itself has a profound romance to it, correct?
yes.
And if I share the philosophy of appropriateness in the second half hour, in the third half hour, I share the philosophy of, or at least the detail of way of impeccability. And in the fourth one, I then use the mind map to expand onto capital H hearing and the psychology of the superiority paradigm. Yeah. To
Hmm.
broaden that and to say, what is moreness, right? Now, so the fourth one becomes the moreness project. Yes. Second one, philosophy of appropriateness. Third one, way of impeccability. Fourth one, moreness project. And then the fifth comes and it ties it all together in terms of the books and the sharing and life in general, how this applies to my daily living. In other words, the application. The books are the application, correct? So
Hmm.
the fifth one becomes application. Yeah, makes sense?
Yes.
But to use in those 3 middle ones and even in the fifth one, to say the mind map as the core that ties it all together, so that whenever you get a bit lost,
Yes.
come back to the mind map, right? Come back to the mind
Yes.
map.
Yes.
And and
Yes.
and I'll screen share, but I won't do what I did today and leave that mind map up so long. I bring up the mind map, touch a few points, drop it again, so that the mind map remains an intangible, an allure, a mystery, just something that pulls. Yeah, make sense?
Yes, but we can discuss these things, of course,
Correct,
later.
correct. But I just wanted
These
to
are
tie
these
it
are the
together
things.
now as the intent, because this was the intent of this particular session, to practice this.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
do you think
yes,
that's appropriate usage of it?
yes.
Right. And it would add to this to the podcast, yeah.
Exactly,
I put it out there
exactly.
because whoever's watching this, if you feel like commenting, let me know. You know, comment. Let
Yes,
me know. Let
yes,
me know if
yes.
what I say makes sense. I love feedback. I love feedback. Feedback very important. All right. On that point,
Yes,
yes, I've got to go to the warehouse and all sorts of things to do. So
yes.
see
Okay.
you again in a few seconds, Beena. All right. So thank you, everybody. This was most fun to do. This was most fun.
Okay.
Thank you, Norma.
Okay.
Thank you, wonderful Norma. Your questions and comments were very, very helpful. Very, very.
Okay. Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Bye bye,
Bye for now.
everybody. End meeting. End meeting.